So just let me know when to go ahead.
All right, you can begin.
Okay, class. Good day. Today we are Stephanie Heinrein and myself, Jalicia Map. We are going to speak on chapter 4, Understanding Yourself. So this chapter overview, it challenges you to think of the things about yourself that shape your personal identity and fuel your motivations. It explores the roles of self-awareness in leadership, including aspects of self-concept and self-esteem. It also explores how you form your values and the role of values in developing character. Your personality preferences for how you approach decisions and how you learn also are addressed. Along with studying leadership, you must understand yourself. Imagine the time you have been sitting in class or a meeting and had these thoughts. I have a solution to this problem, but I don't want to say it out loud in front of all these people. What if it sounds stupid? Class, for example, when we're in class, sir might ask us, anybody understands? Anybody know any questions? And we feel ashamed to raise our hands because we are afraid of our classmates laughing at us. Two, I'm so proud that I didn't hesitate a minute to disagree when she made such a hurtful comment. The example I have for this is when we were students, when a student insulted me in front of everyone, I responded to her remarks and stood up for myself, which would have been the first time. Because normally I'm someone that don't stand up for myself. So I put my foot down immediately. My sense of humor really helped the group get through the tense moment tonight and keep things in perspective. The example that we will have for that is while I was working in a group, a member started to make everyone uncomfortable. So I tried to lighten the mood by making a joke and put everyone at ease. Seeing
Seeing,
your own trends,
seeing, seeing your own strengths and weaknesses and those of others so clearly requires focused reflection. Being aware of how you prefer to think, relate, learn, and find personal meaning is an important self awareness skill. Being able to articulate what you believe and what you value helps you understand your own motivations and behaviors. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses helps you grow and relate to others with authenticity and credibility. For example, I am not one who likes to be the center of attention, but prefers to contribute behind the scenes in any way I can, which in that way it helps me showcase my strengths and not my weaknesses. Because leadership happens in the context of interpersonal relationships, self understanding is essential to authenticity in those relationships. Perhaps one of the basic life traits that translates to leadership effectiveness is honest, authentic self awareness that is open to growth and learning and changing. Development of self for leadership. The common observation of many acknowledged leaders is that no one can teach you about yourself except you. Venice, 1989. Counselors, advisors, friends, or family can help with this process, but awareness ultimately requires you to study yourself. Venice, 1989, observed four lessons from which to develop self knowledge. You are your own best teacher, means you only know your own part of understanding and learning and which methods works best for you. Accept responsibility, blame no one, is take accountability for your own actions and blame no one. You can learn anything you want to learn because nothing is unreachable if you want it bad enough. True understanding comes from reflection of your experience.
strengths and weaknesses. Each person brings a different mix of strengths and weaknesses to any situation. The irony is that some of your strengths, if emphasized, become your weakness, and things you consider weakness may actually be seen as strength by others. You may be a strong critical thinker who can readily find flaws in logic. That can be terrified as strength in helping your group prepare and present its position on a topic, or it can be seen as a negative and blocking if someone is expressing an idea to you and you just naturally begin to be critical instead of trying to connect and listen. The converse can be true as well. To be humble and quiet may mean your opinion is never heard and your voice is left out of decision making. But it can also mean you are a keen listener who is very tuned in with other thoughts. Leadership self-awareness grows when you can identify your personal strengths and weaknesses in working with others towards change. Sometimes your weakness can be admired by others and may wish they had that ability as their strength, so never downplay your strengths. Never ever downplay your strengths. Identifying your passion and strengths. Clifton Nelson, 1992, suggests that you pay attention to the things you see others do and to your inner mind saying, "Oh, I would have loved to try that." Sometimes it is hard to identify strengths. Listen for the times you say, "I feel I have accomplished something great when I do that." Clifton and Nelson recommend that you find your strengths by trying these strategies. 1. Listen to yourself when you have done something well, even if no one else notices. It means that giving yourself small claps on the back, clapping for your little small win, not waiting for anybody to acknowledge your win but you. 2. Identify the satisfaction you feel when you know something you did was terrific and gives you a feeling of well-being, meaning that all sacrifices paid off. Just like for us, when for the whole semester we toil, we study late hours, we put in all the work, and then we see that A at the end of the semester. It's be a great feeling. 3. Know what things you find easy to learn quickly, organizing your lab reports, talking to strangers, mastering a new computer technology, and reading patiently to small children. Anyone have any questions regarding that? Okay, no problem. Developing your talent. One of our greatest aspects as human beings is talent. Everyone has talent. Knowing yourself well includes knowing your talent. The things that you are naturally good at, unfortunately, we often work from the default model, focusing on and maybe even obsessing about our weaknesses. Trying to fix our weaknesses takes away from our ability to lead and work from our talents and strengths. We do not have enough time in our lifespan to fix our weaknesses or to try to transform our strengths into weaknesses while also trying to work from our natural talents. When you play to your strengths, you are working from the psychological of talent. Buckingham and Clifton, 2001, purpose toward assumptions that can guide you in your leadership. 1. Each person's talents are ensuring and unique. Not everyone's talents remains the same. 2. Each person's greatest room for growth is the area of his or her greatest strength. Managing our weaknesses. All of us can learn to manage our weaknesses. Some think that weakness can be removed, but they can't be transformed into strengths. The goal, therefore, is to manage weaknesses so the strength can be freed to develop and become so powerful they make their weaknesses irrelevant. Clifton and Nelson, 92, page 73. A person can either manage weaknesses so that they do not repress other strengths or overcome them and turn them into strengths. But do Tom Cruise, Orlando Bloom, Keanu Reeves, Whoopi Goldberg, Leonardo da Vinci, and Pablo Escobar, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and John Leonard had in common? Anyone knows? Okay. Each of them has coped with dyslexia. They may struggle to be quick readers or accurate spellers, but all learn to manage those weaknesses and found ways to prevent them from blocking their strengths. Others cope with different weaknesses. Helen Keller could not see, hear, nor speak, but she learned to communicate remarkably well. Olympic athlete Jackie Joyner deals daily with asthma. Whatever their weakness, all these gifted people learn to manage weakness so that it did not hold back their strengths. We encourage you to focus on your strengths and develop your talents. Some weaknesses, however, may be problematic because they cause you to function poorly. These need to be tackled differently. For example, you may not speak well in front of a group. You can, however, manage these weaknesses by learning ways to make a presentation more comfortable for you, like overhead transparency or handouts or encouraging group interaction.
Esteem and confidence. How you think and feel about yourself is the energy that fuels your motivation. Self concept is how we objectively describe ourselves. Usually, it is based on our roles and attributes. You might say, I am a mother of a 2-year-old and like to go with the flow, keeping all my options open. Or I am an older than typical student with above average intelligence and high motivation. Or I am a creative person with musical abilities. Self esteem is the subjective element of how you feel about yourself. For example, you might say, I am a creative person with musical abilities, but am unskilled socially and uncomfortable around those in authority. I feel proud of my musical and creative skills and feel disappointed in myself for not being more socially skilled. Self awareness would lead to having an accurate self concept. Honoring your strengths and addressing your weaknesses are essential first steps towards higher self esteem. Self confidence is the ability to know that you can rely on your strengths, competencies, and skills in in the many contexts in which you find yourself. Some people constantly do well in whatever they do, but they are never sure they can do well and therefore have low self confidence. Perhaps self confident people have better memories and know that they have done well before and can do so again. Accepting ourselves is perhaps one of the hardest life tasks. Realizing that you cannot change some things about yourself is a step towards higher self esteem. For example, you will not become 5'2" if you are now 5'6". You will not be you will not become another race, change your siblings, or get rid of your freckles. You can, however, learn new skills and add to your knowledge bases. Self acceptance is defined as an individual acceptance of all their attributes, positive or negative. When we're self accepting, we embrace every part of ourselves, not just the positive things. Self acceptance is unconditional. You can recognize weaknesses, but still full, fully accept yourself. This is easier said than done, of course. Self love is a hard thing to develop or to learn. So every day is a fighting battle to try to love yourself and keep going. Understanding yourself. What makes you the way you are? Anybody? Well, I think it maybe is your personality traits, your abilities, your likes and your dislikes. your belief systems or morals. So those things like those. How much of your perception, values, temperament, personality, and motives come from the way you were raised? The influence of surroundings and your contextualized environment. How much of the way you are is inborn or genetic? Debates have raged for years over whether to attribute human behavior to nurture, socialization, or nature heredity. Becoming aware of the influence of either nurture or nature is your own development is essential to understanding yourself. For example, you may be tall and may have learned that some people find you imposing. They assume you will become outgoing and aggressive, even though you are quiet and shy. You may, or you may be small but have learned that people react eventually to the quality of what you have to say. Some might even say you seem bigger than your height. You may have learned to be relations or thoughtful or funny or anxious. Your upbringing or circumstances can definitely determine the way you are or become later on. It's like everyone may not have had an easy life growing up and had to work hard and accept low income jobs. People may miss out on great opportunities because of where they come from. Some people change their address on their resume just to maybe get a job. Regardless of how you came about the way you are, you can intentionally choose to develop desired traits or skills. You cannot change your height or some other genetic attributes, but you can address many of the things you have learned by bringing them into your awareness. Although you cannot change or it cannot always change the way others view you because they bring their own biases and attributions, you can at least be authentic as you try to be the person you would like to be. Because of circumstances where others weren't getting jobs because of where they live, some change their narratives and went to learn a trait or a skill and open their own businesses and become an entrepreneur. Factors that shape your identity. Several central salient characteristics have probably made you the person you are and the person you will become as you age. Consider how your ethnic, racial, or cultural background has made a difference and shaped you the way you are. How do you believe or behave differently because you are a man or a woman? Well, women are least likely to be hired for high position or high paying jobs because men think they are not capable of taking on that responsibility simply because they are a woman. Two, how does your age influence your interests and views? Some women put their own life on hold to be maybe be a mother, and then when they decide to go back into the working world, they now realize that they are aged out of opportunities because they want young employees. So now they have to change their views. Three, do you have specific abilities or disabilities that shape your perception or skills? Well, for example, my friend hip disability may limit her from performing well on the field and affect her skills. 4. How has your birth order position in your family influenced your development? While in some cultures, boys are considered more superior than girls because they focus on the boys' talents and skills to maybe carry out the family name, whereas they only see women as housemaids and not someone of value and importance. Mapping your personal context must include many elements that contribute to your sense of identity. We believe the capacity for leadership is within each of you. As we noted in Chapter 2, many observers of leadership agree that leaders are made, not born, and that everyone has a leader within. Meaningful interaction and effective leadership processes can result if individuals are aware of their own motivations and where others are coming from. The leader within you may be willing to assume positional leadership roles or may be more comfortable with active participation roles. Either way, within you is the capacity to make a difference. Values, beliefs, ethics, and character. As difficult as it may be to determine how characteristics like your age, ethnicity, or religion influence the way you think and act, it is even more complicated and important to identify the values and beliefs that lead to your ethical behaviors and build your character. Values and beliefs. Among the hardest things to articulate are the values that guide actions. If your actions and thoughts are a mystery to you, you may not have adequately examined your own value system. Beliefs shape values, which influence thoughts and actions. If you can articulate your values, then you are likely aware of the principles and beliefs that serves as your guide. The discussion of values should always raise the crucial question: whose values and for what purpose? Some values, such as promise keeping and nonviolence, are so fundamental that they have been found in the norms in most civilized society. Understanding values becomes a central component to understanding others and to achieving a common purpose. So, when we were a child, we were taught proper values and beliefs. Example, having good manners by saying good morning, good evening, etc. And to honor thy mother and thy father and not steal, which was instilled in us as children, which will now be passed from generation to generation, which will help us to be great citizens of society. Character and ethical behavior. Integrity in relationships is central to the value system needed among people working together towards change. Authenticity is rooted in action that is both true and real in ourselves and in the world. Trustworthiness is far more than just telling the truth. Being worthy of trust means being honest, demonstrating integrity, keeping promises, and being loyal. It means being known for standing up for your own convictions. Respect means that you treat others considerately, not that you admire or agree with all their values, all their views and behavior. Being respectful is a commitment to treating others in ways that do not demean or take advantage of them. Responsibility means accepting accountability for your own actions and being conscious of the moral and ethical implications of deciding not to act. Being responsible means being accountable, pursuing excellence, and exercising self restraint. Fairness is working towards an adequate outcome. Being fair means being open minded and willing to listen and confronting your own biases that might influence your decisions. Caring means your you your awareness of being concerned for each other's well-being and your attention to not be hurtful. Care requires empathy and kindness. Citizenship is the civil virtue of knowing that as a member of a community, you have the responsibility to do your part to contribute to the well-being of the group. Citizenship means you are willing to abide by laws and social obligations. Examples of ethical behavior in the workplace include ob- obeying the company's rules, effective communication, taking responsibility, accountability, professionalism, trust, and mutual respect for your colleagues at work. All these will in turn build good character.
Personal style preferences. Understanding how you express your values through your preferred interactions or decision making helps you understand yourself and serve as a bridge to exploring diversity within groups. You may see yourself as a caring person committed to being fair and just, yet you are puzzled to why some people perceive you as judgmental or rigid. Understanding your personality preferences helps explain how you function in the world and how you are perceived by others. Psychological type. How humans adapt to the world around them is different from each one because of personality preferences. The studies of personality consumes the content of many psychological courses, books, and specialized journals. You are assume that the way you view things, get things done, interact, and make decisions that you perhaps cannot imagine doing them differently. It is essential to realize that you have the capacity to broaden your approaches. But the first step is to identify them. You know, some people are very close minded, but once they acknowledge their ways, they can now be able to broaden their horizon and learn to do things differently. Becoming aware of your personality preferences has moved you further towards several awareness. As awareness grows, you become to see the need to build other skills and to have a wider range of responses in decision making and in your relations with others. A useful application occurs when you realize that the conflict you have with another may be because of clash in preferences, which can lead to more understanding ways of relating. You will then find it comfortable to say, sorry, I know it seems like I am jumping the gun, but I just do my best thinking out loud. Or, I know I am asking a lot of detailed questions, but it helps me understand the bigger picture. Or, these were interesting ideas presented today. I am just not ready to decide. I need to think about this overnight. Can we decide at our meeting tomorrow? Not everyone learns at the same pace. Approaches to learning. One of the elements of leadership is the focus on complementing something or changing something. How individuals understand the need or change and how effective individuals and groups can adapt to change is a learning process. Human beings go through a continual process of adaptation to changing conditions, whether those conditions are imposed or induced. Highly diverse groups of learners need to acknowledge that people learn differently and offer options and choices that will appeal to diverse within a group. For example, student, government, or organization who are planning to retreat during which goals and plans for the year are to be set met by. Send out materials ahead of time. It appeals to the introverts and the enthusiasts. Plan large group presentation, appealing to the introverts and the thinkers. Plan small group discussion. This appeals to the useful that the extroverts and feelers. Plan case studies, examination. Also, they might work through how a possible goal might be put into an action plan with a related budget, useful to the censors and the judges. If only one approach were used, it would relate less well to the entire group. It is clearly helpful to know your own preferred learning style and understand how others may prefer to learn differently. Preferences is how we take in information, relate to others, make decisions, and learn are all essential areas of awareness. In relation leadership, these application of Jung principle may help you explore your own personality and attitudes in new ways. Any questions so far? Okay. The typing and personality assumes a clarification framework within which one person type can be compared and contrasted with others. The framework for Jung technology has a mandala function, a squared circle divided into 4 with a cross radiation into form the center, carrying the promise of balance, union, and the connection of opposites. For Jung, the mandala was an expression of the psyche and a symbol of self-relations and individualism. This convention sees the diagram of a unitary and centralized psychological field in which a person is operating. So in summary, this chapter discusses some important aspects of your self-awareness that become key to understanding yourself as a participant and as a leader. The chapter explored ways to express your strengths and weaknesses with a goal of developing your talents and having a realistic self-concept with healthy self-esteem and self-confidence. We reviewed basic values that are essential in a person of character. Building on the psychological and educational approaches to leadership, we presented some models to assess your personality preferences and your learning preferences. Thank you. This time we would like to take any questions if anyone has.
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll pause the recording.